All right, and welcome to our second video with Marley about the Slipbox method. Yeah, so we had the first video 2.5 years ago when Marley showed us told us first about the Slipbox method of taking notes, how this can be useful for researchers, and then she showed us actually precisely how she is implementing that. And now it was 2020, right? And now it's like November 2020. Now it's 2.5 years later, and I was so curious to hear how has the method improved, how Marley improved her method. So I'm very happy that she agreed again to give us a little update. Welcome, Marley.
Thank you for having me, Martina.
Thank you. I'm very happy about this. So also very curious. So maybe you could start by telling us about maybe the beginnings, just shortly. Why did you decide exactly for this method? How hard was it to implement it? And then we get to the direction of the update. Yeah, what has changed in the last years for you?
Yeah, I think many things have changed so far. I think it's a very personal process when you start to learn how to take notes and also learning a new program where you're implementing this. So far, I have learned that you don't have to implement it all at once. Like many people look for different examples on the internet. That's what I also do to get ideas and how to use it. But I would suggest people not to overdo. I think the simple, the better. And I think many people will work differently, perhaps depending on their personality. Some people need more detail. Some other people doesn't need too much detail on their organization in general. So I think it's always a lesson of trying and trying and trying for what works best for you. And you can only do that with time. So I think what I've learned is just look for an idea. If it resonates with me, maybe I will implement it, but I will test it for a while if it works for me or not. And when I talk about this testing and things like that, is that out there in the community, there are so many ideas of how to take notes, and many people had taken their own ways. So I think it's really nice to be open-minded at the beginning and where you are starting from, and then little by little implement your system of taking your notes. And because the end of it, it's, if you're using it at least for research, is to have a published product and writing products out there for the public. So with that in mind, I think your structure of note taking should always point to some goal in general. And over time, it may be that you deviate from that, but it's always good to come back to the track. So what am I doing this for? Is it serving the purpose and things like that? So first, open-minded, implement things little by little, I would say. And yeah.
That's a good advice.
Always reflect. Always reflect about it.
Sorry, that's a good advice, because this is kind of this Slipbox method can get very complex, right? So if you feel like, oh, I have to get it perfect at the beginning, this is like, now, if you remember from the course, we were talking about the top-down and the bottom-up writer types or personality types, and the top-down people. So where are you, Marley, on the spectrum, if I can ask? Do you remember still, or do you feel about how you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I'm mostly top-down. Like I'm very structured and organized, but I also recognize that can bring some limitations, and you should look for balance always.
Exactly, especially like with these nodes, right? Because when you go too much top down, you need to understand the system perfectly, because you use it, then you will never use it. Yeah, so this is a very valuable advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it will resonate with people knowing where they are on the spectrum, because that will reflect how they're organizing and taking notes and stuff. But always reflecting, is it really useful to go this way or not? So I will show later how I was reflecting on, okay, I'm implementing this. Is it useful or not? And things like that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now maybe let's get to the concrete. How did you start, or maybe what are the exactly how was your system at the beginning, and how did it change? You can also show it whenever you feel like you want to show it instead of just talking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been more than 2 years, I think. And in our first interview, I was just starting, I think. I was just playing around. trying to understand the concepts of the method from the book that I mentioned on that interview. And so I was learning by doing at the same time. So many years have passed, and I still maintain kind of a similar structure, but it has evolved. So I want to show you now what's the structure of my notes and how I work in general. Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, let me prepare the
Of course.
the Obsidian thing, because it's okay.
Yeah, so just meanwhile for everyone, in the links I will link the book, I will link the previous interview, I will also link my blog article about the writer types. If you are hearing about it for the first time, that's indeed useful.
Yes, so please let me know if you see the screen and
yes,
it's the right size for you to read as well.
Perfect.
Okay, that's good. So mainly I want to draw attention here where is the structure of the notes. The sleep box method talks about literature notes, permanent notes, and fleeting notes. So I still maintain that. As you can see, I have like a folder here for bibliographic notes that are the main literature notes that I read and take notes on. Another folder for permanent notes, and another one for fleeting notes.
Could you maybe briefly explain what is the difference between permanent notes and fleeting notes? I guess these are your ideas, right? That you are taking I mean, as a contrast to the bibliographic notes that are about the literature you read, the others are about your work, right?
Yes, fleeting notes could be things that I just have thoughts on the go, and I want to read something, and I put it and I create a note, and then I note I need to read this about this and about this later on. This is a good idea for this. This could be a research project, things like that, just on the go. And I have many of them, just as I have the need to record them. That's why they're called fleeting notes, right? And the main notes I would say are the literature notes that come from reading papers, for example. So I have, in general, several subfolders in here that correlates to the projects that I'm working on. But because all of them belongs to a PhD thesis, in general, all of them are kind of connected, but I separated by how I would think this is for one paper. This could be useful for one paper or another. So that's why you see several subfolders, but all of them have the original individual notes of one paper, right?
Can I ask you here? Sorry, can I ask you? So the main feature of the Slipbox method is that you can link those notes. Yeah, you can maybe show us later. But can you link them also? You have this different folder: literature notes 2, 3, 4. Can you also link papers between different folders together? Can everything be linked together, or?
I could say everything can be linked together. You can link individual notes to individual notes, so I think it doesn't matter where they belong to.
Okay, that's cool.
Link them together.
Oh, that's very nice.
And the permanent notes are like a collection of my thoughts based on those literature notes. Like what am I extracting from these papers? What can I say about them? And things like that. So, for example, if I go to a literature note called Ecosystem Functions, or CWD, because that's the topic, and I read some papers that talk about it, so I collect a brief summary of all what I'm reading and all what these authors are saying and put it into a big idea that I know would be useful for my project or for a paper that I'm writing. So when I talk about linking, here's the link in Obsidian. You can it's like a wiki link or something, right? You can go to this paper that I took notes on. So if I click on it, I can see the paper where I took notes on it. So that's just to show a general example of these 3 types of notes are what we call the Slipbox method, based on the Lumen researcher many years ago that he used it, but in a paper system, physical system, but we're just trying to implement it, in a digital one. So those 3 notes are the main components, I would say. So if we, for example, go to a literature node, and I think this is, for example, how I use it now in Obsidian, this could be the individual paper, the individual idea. right? So I put, I think this is a code that is generated automatically, year, and all, even the hour that I created the notes. This is the title of the paper. So in Obsidian, there's something really interesting that I don't remember if I use it in our previous interview, but this is the YAML query. So this is like the all the data about this node that you can retrieve even later. So I have, this is our original article. I separate the title, the authors, the year. The aliases is another way of calling this paper. And now I added two more things that are status, because sometimes I don't complete, taking notes on this paper. So I think, okay, it's already processed, or I need to come back to this later, and things like that. And also the key ideas. I now extracted the key ideas into this main component of the node, so I can retrieve it later, and I will show you how I do that, because it's very useful to see in the same table all the key ideas of certain papers.
Oh,
like
cool. So you can show them all. Oh, this is really cool. This is basically, there is this, it's kind of literature metrics. It's kind of system where people do this manually. You create a kind of, you use an Excel sheet, and in the rows you have the individual papers. In columns you can have categories like this, and then you do it manually. But here you have it all together. This is really cool.
Yes, I saw that you recommended also, like, okay, how can we review literature? And you can also do that manually in an Excel sheet. As you're reading, you're putting your information.
Yeah, but this is much better, of course.
Exactly. When I saw those examples with that in mind, I thought, no, my query needs to be, all this data needs to be extractable. So I now implemented key ideas here, right? So this is, can you hear the sound, by the way, of the airplane? It's too loud?
No. Zoom is filtering that. No, it's not.
Great. I was worried about it.
Don't worry. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to show an example. Why is this note have a name first of the title of the paper, of the name of the paper, and then second option of naming this note is the citation of the paper. So when I created the permanent node before, and you saw it, so I can refer to a link to this paper with the alias, if I remember. So this one is Watanabe et al. This one. So I just create a link to this paper, like that, right? It's all the title, but it's gonna show only the aliases. That's why I think this is really cool to have. And also separated author by year as well, because perhaps you want to filter literature by year, by author, right?
Yeah.
So that's
very
why.
Cool.
That's why. That's the reason of this. So then I think I also talk about it in a previous interview, how I summarize the literature. It's just a quick summary of the introduction of the abstract in general. I go to the abstract first and extract the main background, the main results. I can summarize the main results, but I also like to copy the figures just below the main results, so I can see graphically, okay, this was the main, and maybe about this result there was a table. This looks not so good, but anyway.
No, but like you can make it bigger, right? When you click on it, it gets bigger, and then you can read it, right? Yeah.
I can do that. So I just got into the habit of reading the paper and be with a screenshot of the figures, and I can do that in my computer. So I quickly paste the figures in there. So I make it more interesting to read. And just, this is all what I need to extract from the paper. That's it for me, at least, right?
Yeah.
Even the conclusion, just it's there. It's enough. And then I summarize even more. Like I work. I summarize in my own words the key idea. What's the main lesson from this paper that I may use, and this is here. But now I take the extra time of putting this into the YAML, because I know I will use it later. So and then I end up. I can also include something that's interesting about the methods. That's also something I maintain from our previous from 2 years ago. I still maintain interesting concepts and sources that can be things in the introduction or the discussion that I'm also interested in knowing more. And tags is still very important in my in my work. You'll see later how I use it to find papers. And there's a big change between 2 years ago and now. Obsidian has developed like a sub-tags. I don't know the exact term from it, but now you have categories that are nested into a big category. So that's really useful.
Yeah.
So now, for example, I took notes on some methods here. So probably later I will want to find something about how to measure silica concentration. So I have a general tag for methods, and then I can go as deeper as I want to find the system method for silica concentration. So when I go to my collection of tags, there are several of them nested. So when I think about this method, I go to method and go to search for it if I need to. So tags is very useful. I still use it in every single paper because it would allow me to find the paper much later in time. So, and also now Obsidian allows to include the PDFs inside the notes. That's really cool.
Oh, that's cool as well. Of course. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. For example, if maybe I did miss something or I want to go to the paper. So, okay, I can have the paper here. I can open it and I can, for example, click here and open in the default tab, and I will open the Acrobat PDF reader. Very useful to have the PDF available here if needed. And that's it. That's the main. That's how I take a literature note, and I also include the link of the paper just in case.
So can I ask you here? So the first, this what we see now, the top part is this. Do you have it like when you start writing notes for a new paper? Is this like, do you have like a template with these categories already?
Absolutely, that's where I want to go now.
Okay, so, sorry. Great.
It's cool. I love that your questions will connect with what I also want to explain, because here you can see several folders. So bibliographic notes, permanent notes, splitting notes. I will explain later about this. And here are templates. So let's have a look at the templates I have. No, that's not templates. This is template. So for example, I have a template for literature. Let's see that. This is the template for literature. So when I create a new note, this is the main thing that appears here. It even asks me, let's create a note so I can show you. Okay, it's asking me what type of article is this? Original article, review book, or technical report. So for example, let's suppose I'm reading an original article. So the status, am I going to read it later or now? Okay, processing perhaps. And now, and that's it. It's created. So all I have to input is the title here, and I do it manually. I still copy paste the title, copy paste the things that I need to stop, and then just proceed to. All the sections are already here.
There. Very cool.
Yeah. So for template for permanent, it's different. The definition and the source, and template for book, it's kind of similar. It's already here. It's a book. But the structure of the note is a little bit different because it's not the same as a paper.
Oh yeah, of course. You can't have the same detail of notes for a book, yeah, of course, yeah.
So that's the only difference. For notes, I have two main templates for literature general and book. So I will show you a summary of a book that I made, quite recently. It's a big book, but I use, as you can see, the same structure. I also use key ideas just in case. So I just make a summary of the chapters that I'm interested in, and that's it. And I make like bullet points of it and copy paste certain figures and just goes like this. So for me, I was extracting this for learning to implement a protocol about measuring something. So, okay, I was taking notes on that, and for me that's enough. I think most of the protocol is here, and I have the PDF of the whole book if I want to come back to it at some point.
But when you include the PDFs, now I'm thinking the whole thing will take a lot of space on your computer, right, at the end? Or is this the only place where you have the PDFs? Do you have the PDFs also saved somewhere else? Or
let's remember that Obsidian works within your computer. So everything is in a folder. All these structured folders that you see here, is created within a folder called the name of this vault. So this PDF is attached in a attachment subfolder that I have created somewhere along here. So it's in my computer for sure. Yeah.
But you have it just once, not the PDF of the book. It's just here. It's not somewhere else as a copy again, right? This is the place where you have it.
This is the place within the Obsidian vault that is within my computer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
So same here, tags. You just want to come back to the book and things like that. So things have changed. I've become more aware of how to take register better these things within each type of the literature compared to previous years, I think.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you are using it for almost 3 years now, I would say, no, or 2.5 at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will show you now how I will integrate the literature when I want to see all map out or I'm interested in certain topics, for example. So
may I just quickly, when I see the templates, I saw the weekly review template. Do you use it? That's another thing probably that you have from me. Are you using it actually?
I don't use it anymore. But I used to use it like for a very long time because I have an accountability group every week.
Very cool.
So I use this to create a short report of how my week was. But now I do it in a different way, in a more relaxed way, so I don't use it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And later I will explain more about the sub-projects, the projects and goals, because I think I didn't mention at the beginning, but besides taking notes, I use Obsidian for managing research and project planning. So those templates comes for later. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And yeah, so yes, this is how we can create some tables for searching literature, for example. And that's why it's very useful to have tags, I would say. So for example, Obsidian allows you to use like a Dataview. It's a little bit of coding, but it's very simple and very useful just to use a Dataview plugin and specify that you want a table where you can show the authors and the tags that comes from this specific tag. So I want to look for general papers that are talking on soil fauna effects in general on litter decomposition. And then I have 14 papers. So I can have them here and it has the author, just the author, and not the year, for example, right? And I can see all the papers here. So in this new search query, I can also include the key ideas, as I showed you before. It's very useful to have all the papers that talk on this specific subtopic, because it's a soil fauna tag, but nutrient cycling nested into this one in this case. So I have 2 files that talk about this. So it's nice to have, for example, the link of the paper if I want to go, the author, the year, and a link to the note itself, and also a column showing the key ideas that's what I'm most interested in. And it's good to have just this as a table. Of course, I could have it a little bit more wide view. I have to specify that on the configuration. But so far, the view is a little bit narrow, but the table is there, and that's really, really. So here's another one, and another type of view, and I can also include the figure if I want to. But if the figure is included as a searchable query, but I was just playing with it, but it's not so useful to have the figure. Maybe it's too little. But at least we can have the option of using this very useful plugin, Dataview, to collect the literature that you want to see and probably write on later. And yeah, this is just an example of how you can do it. These are, for example, a filter of all the books that maybe I have summarized or taken notes on. And yeah, you can sort out by year. When you just have this to play with, because this comes from the YAML query, then you can do a lot of things when you are constructing your table. So I could also put other information here, or even the PDF if I want, maybe. Here's the PDF link, for example. Yeah, you can play a lot with that, and it's very useful to have it. You can also proceed from tag 1 or tag 2, from 2 tags at the same time, and you can have all those papers listed in. So yeah.
That sounds amazing, no? Basically, otherwise you would be doing this manually, and then you would have just one table with everything and to just show. I mean, of course, you can also play a bit in Excel, but I think that's very painful to do this kind of things. Of course, these kind of things are not really possible, but just to kind of select parts of the Excel table. No, this is really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. So with that in mind, that's when I was talking about at the beginning of, is it serving a purpose? If that's what you want to extract from the digital, have a map of it, and can you implement that on Obsidian? You can, and you can use. Of course, the learning curve is a little bit slow, but implementing, you can see that using this plugin, you can do a lot of stuff, and using templates, you can do a lot of stuff. So you can start from the minimum and then, keep trying where you want to go. But it's just nice to have also examples from other researchers that are doing this, so other people can also just give it a try.
Really cool. Really nice. Yes.
So yeah, that was this is how my implementation has changed a little bit. So far, I still maintain the 3 types of nodes. I have improved the YAML, query to do this, which is very helpful as well. So that's as far as I keep taking notes. Every week, I still, I read a paper, and immediately I just create a note. If I'm not going to process it, as you saw, I can indicate it later, much later, if I want to process it later. For example, for some papers, I know that this is just I'm going to extract just a sentence from it, probably. From other papers, I will read more time to process it and read it, and so that's why I created some categories for it. If I don't have time and I want to come back later to it, I will put the status as to process. And later I can come back to, I can create a table. What are the papers that I need to process? So I will work on them.
Yeah, that's very useful. Yeah, also
maybe
this distinction between process in detail and processed only like briefly, that's very useful too, because from many papers you need just one little detail, no? And then you just go for it and you know about it. I was also writing down in my notes painfully manually, like, okay, I just have this little thing because the rest so far not relevant, maybe later, who knows. Yeah, sorry. Process.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And so that's why I divided the stages into 2. Process AIC is just like, I just need the abstract, really, from this paper. And process in detail, well, boy, I really need to go to the 10 pages and, learn a lot from this paper. So it could be that I'm still extracting the notes, but I haven't finished, so I'm still processing. I still need more work. But if a paper is like in this status, then it means I already extracted from the abstract maybe something, and it's okay. That's it. I don't need to do anything more with this paper. And if my goal was to really, look for it in detail, and if I finish that at some time, then the status changed. It's processed in detail, and I don't need to do anything else with this paper. Move on to the next one. Yeah, that's why I created this, and it's really helpful because it also sets your mind and your intention for reading this paper to which degree of detail. So yeah. And yeah, I think the same categories for books if I want, or for papers mainly. So yeah.
Yeah.
So it still takes a big part of my time. It's still most of my time is really dedicated to summarizing, coming back to papers and things, looking for papers. But then the other part that I've also implemented within Obsidian, that I think is also a very powerful tool, is for managing projects, because you can use several of the plugins that are offered in Obsidian. And I've seen many examples, as always, from people, but from different backgrounds. But I still wanted to learn how to implement it for research. So I try to, for example, this is a copy. It's not my original one, but it's a copy of a very similar to the one that I use, and it's a main home and a dashboard. What is what I call it, and this is the first page that opens up when I open Obsidian. And here I have like links to several important notes. And yeah, so I don't know if I should speak about it right now, but maybe
You could
I could
totally
start.
if you want.
Okay,
Sounds
you could
interesting.
start. Yeah, so basically I still maintain, for example, the research journal that you also suggested us in the previous course. And I create several since the last time we met, probably was October, right? October, November 2020.
Yeah, that was the time of the
Since then,
course. Yes, yes.
exactly. And since then, every month I created like what I'm doing exactly on that week, depending on which project. And if I have some results, I also paste it there and put some notes on my results and things like that. Very similar to what you did in your Google Doc, I remember.
Very good. Yeah, these I guess you don't really want to show us, right? It's very private.
Yeah,
Maybe
of them.
some of the older ones, stuff that is already, out published if you want. But you
Well,
don't
so
have
far,
to.
for example, March is just let's see, just I could like because I create each one for every month, and I would like to have this also as a general line. This month, what important meetings are there that I need to keep an eye for? For the May one that I have not created yet, but I have like interview with Martina today, things like that. And I just go as I go week by week. Okay, I check. I attended the seminar and things are go moving along. And depending on the week, well, I just create a small template of the things I want to do for
So
that
that's like a to-do list.
each project. Yes, and when I have results, I paste it also in the part that is below, but maybe I don't want to show that.
Yeah, of
And
course, of
also
course.
comment notes about it.
All
And
right, all right.
so
Very cool.
the month will have 4 weeks. So I have like 4 more similar templates to this, but it's really useful to know what I want to do, what am I doing, what I'm recording, and things like that. So it's like a research journal. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
So, and maybe another thing that I want to also show that is contained in this dashboard is I also implemented a general calendar for the year, which is very useful to have, deadlines that are coming 2 months from now, things like that. So I think it is not a typical calendar like Google Calendar. I just created manually, but it works well. So I would say that I just divided every 3 months and important things that are occurring during that month and whether I accomplish them or not. And this is really useful. I think I got the idea from other PhD students that use like a general calendar just to plan like when are they going to submit for presentations, when they are going to submit papers or for grants. And it's really useful to have like a big picture calendar. So I have it, and this was created with plugin called Kanban. This is like a Kanban board.
Kanban board.
For me, the Kanban is every 3 months. It's a column, and then I just created like this. So it's really useful. I put it here because I always every week, almost every week I check in like what's coming next month. Okay, this deadline is coming. I need to do this and that. It's very useful to have the big picture, then to have the picture week by week with the research journal as well. And the second thing that the third thing that I also implemented was a grading garden Kanban. I also got this idea from another researcher, I think, when I was listening to a podcast and using the analogy of we're graders and we are harvesting at the end of at the end of the journey.
Yeah.
So I implemented this pipeline with a garden metaphor, and I want to show you. Like, for example, I think it's very motivating for people that are visual, but yeah, it could be useful for some people. For example, doesn't look very well here, but this is our seeds, just ideas of research in progress, right? Some perhaps planting for me is like, okay, I'm already starting the research project. I'm collecting the data or I'm analyzing the data. So it's like I'm planting the seed. If you already finished that stage and probably you're already drafting the paper, right? It's like it's emerging. And if you finish like the first crappy draft, I think I call it, what did I call it? Seedling. Yeah.
Seedling. Mm-hmm.
It's already a seedling. And when that first draft is like sent to co-authors for the input, it's like they're fertilizing the paper, right? And it keeps growing. You keep watering, you keep revising the document, you keep sending it to co-authors for weeding, for correcting, for more corrections and stuff. And in your final edits close to submission, maybe you're pruning the plant. And when you submitted that paper or that poster presentation or that, grant proposal, I call it like flowering. When it's under review, it's fruiting because it's not under your control, but it's growing by itself. And if it got published or presented, it's just harvested.
Oh, great. This is wonderful.
I hope many people can get inspired with this because it's cool, like to see many projects in different stages, and you can move because all right, my paper got already accepted, and I can put it here.
And then you move it. Yeah, no, this is good to have the
Move it.
overview, especially like usually you have several papers at different stages, no? And then you kind of know where you are and it feels like, oh, this is cool. I think I will share this even extra in the newsletter because this is such a nice thing.
I
Very nice.
love this idea because I think it's first it's a nice motivation to see when things are moving forward.
Yeah.
Even if a manuscript gets rejected, you come back to pruning a little bit more, and then you come back to submit, and then you come back and things like that. And I think also at the beginning I was including in this pipeline only papers, but papers move very slowly, even
Slowly,
within a
yes.
year. So I started to include research proposals as well, poster presentations that move. Harvested is when it's accepted, or I also presented the presentation, and yeah, oral presentations so you can also include like blog post if it's something because it's a harvested written product, at
and
the
then
end.
and I love it how this column of harvested is the biggest one, no? I mean, and that will grow and grow. I think this is really, really what you need as a researcher for motivation because things move so slowly, indeed. And then you can see it, you can see your harvested fruits, no? Very cool.
Yeah, it's the end of research, public your output out there for the people to enjoy the harvested product. So I love this metaphor, and it's just all the process that takes until it gets harvested is very long, but it's nice to see where your different projects are, how they're moving.
Yeah, really, really. I love this one. Really amazing. And it's basically a Kanban board. So this one could be implemented also outside of there is Trello and other apps for these Kanban boards, but yeah, it's cool when you have it all in ones, of course. Yeah. So you said
that's what I love.
That's a separate plugin, yeah, you said, for the Kanban board.
Yes, the Kanban plugin. Yes, so Obsidian has many. This is the thing about the community. It's like many people could develop things and they just put it in here. You can also enjoy many of the, for example, here the core plugins are the main things that Obsidian provides. And you can even template, you can work with that pretty well, but community plugins are where the magic happens. And you can analyze, for example, browse several community plugins, and there are like calendars, templater for improving templates, to managing tasks. There's too many. But you can play with that because they're very useful for implementing some things. And yeah, for example, this is the Kanban plugin, which I have installed, and so many people have. It's very useful, very nice, and you can play with that. So over the time I've learned that my goodness, there's so many plugins that you can play with, but as always, the
Needs a
trying
bit
to
of
think about
trade-off,
it.
no? Because you can waste your time on it. So this is always to keep in mind, as
Yeah.
you were saying at the beginning, very rightly, you need to keep in mind your goal, what do you need, and then just go for that and not do everything that is possible, right?
Exactly. If it's serving your goal, it's good enough for you. Then okay, keep. And it has. I have used this for over more than 8 months. Almost a year. I think more than 1 year. And I just love to move things around here. And it's just always good to come back.
Yeah,
Every time something progresses, it's so nice to have it all here. So
nice.
that's also how I'm using Obsidian for project management and this type of motivation. And so I have created some categories called projects and sub-projects. For example, a project will be a research project. But remember that from these research projects, you can harvest, if you could say, papers, presentations, or even this can start as a research grant, right? So I would call that sub-project. So sub-projects from a project would be a manuscript that can come from this project or a poster presentation that can come from this project. So that's why you can see here that I call this SP. This is a sub-project of a research project, right? So I use this category to, let's come back to the dashboard now, because as you can see now, I have this on my grading garden Kanban, the academic year, the research journal, depending on the month that I'm in. And then I also like to make a table of the things that I harvested so far, if that could give you motivation.
Yeah, of course, very useful.
Right. And yes, then I would go to planning for the 3 months ahead of me. So I prepare like a general plan from this project. I want to do this, and this, and by this week, I would like to have a general view of the things that I want to do, and for every 3 months. And so I change this dashboard every 3 months. So let's say I have 3 big goals, and I write that here. For example, for these 3 months, I want to submit this research. I have to submit because probably there's a deadline. This research proposal, and I want to prepare the first draft of this paper, and I want to perform chemical experiments on this other project. So and from there, I create, this is really something that I implemented recently, and it's working so far, but I would like to also keep it as simple as I can, for not overdo too much the structure of the planning. But I try to keep it simple, and for each sub-project, I create some goals. And every goal is a list of little task steps that I need to complete. So I just want to see the progress of how am I doing within this 3-month period. So this is really useful because I use this when I report my progress to my accountability partners. They know my goals for the 3 months, and I also show how I'm progressing week by week, and also on the general scheme of the big goals for these 3 months. So this is how I use it, and it's really useful because this is where I show you the other templates. The templates I have templates for sub projects, for projects, and for goals within the sub projects. So, for example, if part of my big goal was to prepare a first draft, and I needed to finish data analysis and prepare the figures for that paper, for the manuscript, then I created that specific goal that I'm tracking. How am I doing on that? So if I go to that goal, then this is the template for the goal. This is where it belongs, to what sub-project, what paper, and this paper to what project. And I can list the tasks that I want to do. And as soon as I complete them, these
Oh, great. That goes automatically created the percentages. Nice.
Yes, and it took me some days to understand that, but it's just something, if you want to implement it, it could be useful. But that is how I also use Obsidian for tracking my progress on several goals that I have within a specific time in the
So
year.
that's, I guess, another plugin, right, that you are having for this one.
I don't remember.
Okay.
For this is simple Dataview as well.
Okay, so it's one way of showing the data view. Okay, so it's
Because
within the basic of Obsidian.
it's reading. Yes, I created like this template for the goal, so it's
Mm-hmm.
reading automatically that to create that table. But to create this automatic progress calculation,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what I used, but probably I use an example from someone on the internet. Just I cannot remember now.
Marley, I think time will come when you could give your examples to the community because they are really good.
Yeah, I should create a
Let's think
YouTube
about
channel.
that. We talk about that some other time. Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, this is how
Great.
I
And
move
on the top, you have this Gantt chart. No, I
yeah,
think,
this one. Let
yeah,
me.
that's probably some extra plugin. Or is this another app?
You can another thing that you can do in Obsidian is include embed web pages. So
Ah, okay. So this is the other web page. Mm-hmm.
this come from a very known web page to do graphics and mind maps called Miro.
Okay.
It's an online it's an online web page where you
Mm-hmm.
can just do whatever you want. So
And you have it there. I
this is
see. I see.
something yeah, this is
Mm-hmm.
something that I miss that I haven't found really cool in Obsidian. How can I do like a Gantt chart of this type of planning? I
Mm-hmm.
haven't found, so I decided just to go to a web page and include it here because using a simple code, you can embed any YouTube page, anything, any page
Yeah.
in that you
Yeah.
can just copy paste the link and it's with this you can just have it there. So
Wow. Really
I just have
cool.
it there. I just have it there for the big picture as well.
Yeah, no, this is,
Week
I
by week.
love these big pictures. I mean, every top-down person loves that, and every bottom-up person could benefit from it as well, right? It's good to
Yeah.
keep an overview. Yeah, so you don't feel like you're getting lost. Really
Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, this is how my use of Obsidian have changed over the time. I just use it more for planning and I use it every day just to guide what I need to do, what I need to read. Yeah, mostly I use it a lot for research and I cannot recommend it enough to have an organized structure for the things you read and for the things you need to do or are doing.
Okay, then if this is what you wanted to show us, you can stop the screen share and we can still have a little chat.
Okay.
I really love it.
Yes.
It really shows how far you can get in 2.5 years. Yeah, this is very motivating. So basically, I would say the recommendation would be to start with it as early as possible, right? Because then you can really use it and develop it. Yeah. Right? That's the advice. Start early, start simply, don't overthink it, don't get overwhelmed with everything that is possible. And for that, basically, in our first video there where we linked some, you gave some recommendations for some basic tutorials. Maybe for this one, you have some advanced links that you can think of that you could send me. We'll see. Maybe, yeah.
Yes, I think so. It would be useful to have some examples of where I get that information.
Yeah, because this is clearly the next step. Yeah, so this is exactly how I would also advise you to whatever system you have. Start with something that is simple, minimalistic, something that helps you. Yeah, and already maybe with the 3 kinds of notes, not the fleeting, the permanent, and the literature notes. So you already can take your notes, maybe the research journal, so you can already accumulate everything, and then you develop it. Yeah, this is how I did with all my systems I am still using or I have used for a while. That you start simple, and you will see with usage, and everyone will be different. No, it's like everyone. I mean, people are now watching your examples. They can start, they can get inspired, but ultimately, everyone will need something different, not based on the project you do, on the work, the kind of work you do, the kind of person you are, yeah, the kind of detail you like. Yeah, but really great. And this what you have for me, the biggest highlight from today, I mean, one thing is the project management. That's great, but for me personally, the biggest highlight is the how you are creating those overview tables with the overview data, yeah, because this is what we need, yeah, an easy way to access, like, okay, we have done the homework, we have taken notes, we have put all the text, and now when I need one specific thing, what are all the papers on the one specific topic, on the one specific tag, and what are their main messages, and you can retrieve this very easily, very quickly. That's really great. Yeah.
Yes, and that's also very useful to keep creating more permanent notes, because again, you have the literature notes that are talking about this topic, and then you can think about more what you're reading and what you're going to use, and already create a paragraph of that big idea, and keep developing your thinking, which is the main idea of the whole process. So yeah, I would also emphasize again that maybe people, if they're seeing this video for the first time, it could be overwhelming to see all of the different folders and and the structure and all the different types of planning. But again, you don't need to start with all that. It will be too overwhelming. I mean, I did it over several months, even implementing the last parts of the planning. So I think start small, and have a goal in mind. Why are you creating this system? And it depends on each person at the end of the day. So it's a lot of exploration. So yeah.
And ideally, the system as you start with it already is useful from the first moments. Already as you are making your first notes, they will be useful. Maybe they will, at the end, you will change after a few weeks, you will add some more categories and things, and then you can also go back and adapt the first ones if you want to keep it consistent, right? Have you done this? Did you go back and adapted like old notes so they fit to the new format? Have you done this?
Yeah, that's true. For example, when I changed the template for literature notes, I added some things that were not in the previous versions. So unfortunately, no, I haven't come back to them. And
okay, but that's also good, yeah. Then it means it's not essential, and then it still works, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is like developing the system so it can, have its own purpose for your work.
Yeah.
So I don't think I come back to, but what I've done and changed very much is the tags. Because also this is something that has changed within Obsidian. There were general tags in the beginning, and now we have these nested tags. So, but hopefully someone very creative implemented a plugin that allows you to change the names of the tags. So now you can have it all, okay, this tag converted all to this name.
Yeah.
So that was very useful to have a clean tag list, for example.
Really nice.
Yeah, you can change on the go, and it's a lot of exploration, but so far, I don't know if we'll have an interview, 2 years from now, but I'm guessing it will remain something like this, because it already, I feel like I already am using it for two things, for planning and for reading and grading. So what else than that? I don't think I need to implement nothing.
Okay, I have one more question. Do you know, like, let's say if something happens, Obsidian stops, is there a way to get your data out of it and use it put it to another system? No, there are other Slipbox methods. Have you thought about that?
I mean, the good thing is that Obsidian is not based on a web page. It's a program that you can install on your PC, and all the files are in your PC, and all the files are marked down.
That's very universal. Yeah, that's true. Okay, and then Obsidian is also installed on your computer. So if they stop working, they stop providing updates, but you still keep the version you have, right? So you still can work with that. It's on your computer.
Yeah, I could. For example, there was one day that Obsidian could not, I don't know what happened, but it was not working for me. So but I need to read this note. How do I open it? And then I have another program that also opens markdown files. Okay. So I just open it and I read it. It was no problem.
But I thought that Obsidian is installed on your computer, and when it stopped working for a day, how that happened? Interesting. Okay, that's
my PC is really old.
Okay, your PC is okay. I see. Not on the side of the Obsidian. I see. No, but yeah, okay, Markdown. But Markdown is
exactly. I had a technical issue, but I could overcome it because it's a Markdown file, and I could open it on other programs as well.
Yeah, Markdown is quite widespread.
Exactly.
Very
So I'm
cool.
not worried
Yeah.
about it as long as I have backups of my files, which is also very important. And I would suggest everyone,
Oh,
after
backups.
many
Yes.
years of developing your notes and stuff, you don't want to lose that.
Yeah, yeah.
We
No,
have
whatever
backup.
system people are using, no, backup is always important. Yeah, 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 for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Then I have one more thing. So basically, the way do you? Okay, maybe you have because you are using it pretty much the Slipbox method from the beginning of your PhD, right?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Pretty much. So you can't really compare it, but I imagine that not imagine, I'm very sure that having these kind of notes makes it easy for you to write your papers, for example, the introduction or discussion section, no? It's not a big deal. What do I write in my discussion section? I know many people who write their first paper or even second, third paper, they're like, I'm struggling with discussion. And I'm telling them like, yes, because for writing, you are struggling with the discussion because you don't understand the context of your work, the other papers where your work fits in, and this is kind of normal at the beginning. But how was it with your first paper during your PhD? Okay, first, did you write your first paper already after you were using the Obsidian, the
Yeah,
Slipbox
I think
method?
when I show you that more than 2 years ago, I was taking notes for writing a paper.
So how was
So
that? How was it writing the discussion section? Did you struggle, or was it easy, or did you see how helpful your notes were for that kind of
no, it
section?
it still was painful, to be honest.
Okay.
It still was painful because I think it also depends on the maturity of the researcher, you know, how you can juggle all the knowledge and all the writing at the same time. But it helped me stay grounded because I have confronted several pieces of paper that I integrated over time. But it became easier absolutely with the second one. Yeah, much, much easier. Having more developed notes, having more knowledge about how to integrate those notes into my paper and see the progress also within the system was very useful and very motivating. Like to see how I could integrate permanent notes into something that I can use in this paragraph and keep writing about it. So I have another folder section for projects because I show you sub-projects, goals, and within the folder projects, I open notes that are my first drafts. Everything that I can keep writing about the intro, about the discussion, and things like that. I just open a note and keep free write, of course, at the beginning, and then little by little start editing. But it has become easier with time. With the first one, even when using Obsidian, it was not that straightforward, I would say.
Which is normal, I would say. First paper is painful usually. Yeah.
Yeah,
But the
even with
second
it.
was already much better, you say. Yeah, that's
Oh
something.
yeah,
Because for
yeah, with
many
the
people,
third.
second one is still very bad. Yeah, still very hard. So I think here it already shows that and also, of course, yeah, you need to, one thing is to taking the notes, and another thing is also kind of to understanding and internalizing everything, the knowledge and the connections and developing your system. Very
Yes, so
nice.
it takes time, but you get you get used to the system, to how you are developing your notes and how you can use them. So it's always a work in progress, I would say. So always
Yeah.
have that in mind.
Very
Yeah.
much, very much. Very nice.
So I think also I want to add that when you talk about, okay, how about when writing the paper? And recently I have also used something in Obsidian that is like a mind map that you can do and write within Obsidian. So that also have helped me a lot. If you're a visual person, this is a must. You can develop the structure of your paper visually within these mind maps. So maybe I can show you that. I
Yeah,
forgot
please
to.
show us, show us. So there is a mind map implemented within Obsidian, you say.
Yes, this is not a plugin. This is just something core in Obsidian that
Okay,
I have
very nice.
developed recently, and I was so excited. Let me look for it first, and
Please, sure.
then I will. Because where is it?
Very, very curious. It's really like, wow, it's really in the first interview, this was all the basic functionality. I mean, that's important, yeah, for everyone who is start with the first video, obviously. And this one is more for like motivation where it can get, yeah, with the next steps. Very cool.
I think it's this one. Okay, yeah, I think it's this one, which is also very nice because, when you are writing or structuring the paper, it's very messy. There's so many ideas, and you have little things in here, little things in the discussion, and things that come along. So I will show you Okay, where am I? Yeah. Well, can you see this?
Yes.
This is called a canvas. I think it's how it's called in Obsidian. For example, for structuring a paper, I was coming, okay, let's come to the how I would like to structure the introduction. And it was like free grading in motion and creating several little notes. Okay, this could be a topic, but how about this? Maybe this paper would be useful. And I have a link to that paper. Perhaps maybe I could explore this and connect with ideas and things like that. So it's a lot. And I can put everything that was on my mind just at the starting process of wanting to structure a paper.
Like a brain dump, no? Just put it there, and then you can probably also move the boxes, right? And you can restructure them.
Exactly. And I can also include notes. Embed this is a note in a paper. That is amazing. You can embed one note here. I just wanted only the interesting concepts and sources from that paper, which gives me an idea of what they did in their introduction, perhaps. So this information is cool. You can also use it in your introduction. That's, like post-it notes for every.
Very cool. Then you have results.
You can also have like a big picture, put all your results like in a board and start thinking about, okay, to explain these results, how am I going to structure the introduction and things like that, right? As you taught us in the course. And same for the discussion, I just posted snippets of other papers that could be useful for this discussion.
Yeah, wow. That's a wild, yeah.
And there's also
possible.
Everything is possible. And I think if you're a visual person, this is so useful to start structuring the paper and see how the ideas connect and keep developing the ideas and then move on to the written text, the paragraphs and stuff, I think. And then another cool thing that Obsidian also allows you is to draw, which is also that I love to draw, for example, abstracts of papers or certain ideas. So
okay, I wanted actually to ask about the pictures you had in the garden. So this was also drawn by you, or did you take them from somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere else, I think.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I just that was for a general reference, but you can use a plugin called Excalidraw here, which allows you to draw. And I had used it very often in papers. For example, this method is so complicated even in written words that I sometimes decided to draw it and include the drawing of the experimental design in the literature note.
Yeah,
so
very cool.
So when I come back, I know, okay, I know what they did. And this is yes, Excalibur drawing. It's like you open a drawing and you just can go and introduce several things and write and
nice.
draw. So I think I use that and then I draw what this person meant in the results section, and I just draw a summary of it because it was a little bit complicated to come back to the text, at least for me.
Yeah, nice.
So, things like that.
Really cool.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention about it, but this is also something that you can use for keep developing your thinking and when you're at the stage of writing something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand. You develop your writing, you develop your thinking about your project, and then the paper writes itself, no? Then it's much easier to write the actual paper. Very cool. Thanks you so much. This was wow, I was not expecting that. I was expecting like, oh, you have little tweaks here and there, but you have really like qualitatively moved to the next level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It depends. And I think my personality is kind of like that, like having a lot of structure, but not too much because it could be overwhelming as well. And having a balance in that and a lot of visualizations, like as you saw with the grading the grading garden, Kanban, and things like this. Canvas also nice.
Yeah, very nice. So are there other things you want to try out still that you have heard of but did not have time, or do you have plans? What is the next thing that you would like to try in Obsidian?
So far, I'm always like, your brain's always looking for novelty. And that's also what I do when I go to YouTube, say what's new in Obsidian, what people are doing. But lately I've just been seeing and, oh, that's really cool, but never having that feeling of I want to implement that now. That hasn't happened now
Okay.
recently. So I don't have really something in mind that I would like to implement so far. And it's working as it's working right now, and I'm happy with it. Perhaps what I could do in the future is simplify some things. Because when I was preparing for this interview and I was thinking what I want to show you and things like that, and I saw some things that I'm not using anymore. So I think, oh, maybe I just can, skip this and stuff. I think at this point it's the process of simplification.
Sounds good. Sounds like you are maturing. Like the system is really maturing, and it's very normal, right? And it's also a congratulations to feeling like you don't need to try everything, because this can be procrastination. Yeah, this could be your procrastination, to just fiddle around with Obsidian instead, reading papers and writing papers and doing experiments, right? So this is really good that you just use it for what it's useful. And if you maybe later have some other need, you will implement it. But so far it really, okay, that's also interesting for everyone, I guess, to see that within 2.5 years you can have a mature system, right? So when was the last major thing you added?
I think last year, November.
Okay, so that's pretty much
dashboard.
2 years.
I think it was the dashboard, and because I think it belongs to a plugin which allows you to have these when you open Obsidian, this is the first thing you see, and I just put everything in there. So and implementing the goals and the percentages of that tasks. So
okay, so like 2 years, around 2 years, and you got quite a mature system. Very nice.
Yeah, but it always comes after trying several things, and it's pretty normal. At the beginning, you want to try many things, but then you start realizing what works for you or not. So, yeah, at this moment, I want to simplify some things and just keep using it. And
sounds reasonable. Sounds very reasonable. Yeah. Okay, Marley, this is amazing. Maybe we are getting to the end, right? Thank you a lot. This was very informative.
Thanks to you as well.
I wish you all the best with your research. Yeah, maybe we can do an update in some 2 years. Maybe there is like, when I write to you and you're like, oh, I am a postdoc becoming a professor soon, right? And then, okay. If you move like, from the PhD. So do you plan to stay in research when you finish PhD?
Yeah, I plan to stay in research. So I think it would be a good tradition with you, an update with Martina.
We should totally.
Right?
Because then as you will be moving, when you become a postdoc, you will be supervising students and stuff. You will need other things maybe in Obsidian. It would be also interesting. Okay, so you can get back to me. I will totally not forget about you. Let's do this. Let's keep the community informed. This is really, really useful, I think.
Yeah, but so far you have seen it has my structure and my planning already reflects what I'm experimenting right now, which is PhD research and how I manage research, how I manage many things and literature. So yeah, it's true. Maybe in a couple of years later, it's just, of course, different tasks, administrative tasks, and advising students and things like that. I think probably there are many professors out there using Obsidian. They're just not sharing how they're using it.
I am not sure. I mean, it would be interesting. It's hard to get those professors to talk to you about this stuff. They are busy, but professors totally need a good system, but they don't have time to learn it. So if they did not learn it during their PhD or postdoc time, they probably don't learn it as a prof because they simply don't have the time, no? So in this sense, it's really cool that you started very early and now you have already a mature system and you are still within your PhD. Yeah, so
it's true. No, it's true. Nobody teaches you how to organize things, no plan. You just learn on the go.
Yeah.
But
and many professors have very chaotic systems. I mean, it kind of works, but it's always very stressful. On the other hand, maybe because, I mean, of course, you are a smart lady, you do great research, but at the end, you know, to who becomes a professor, it's often those people who will manage all these crazy projects and, you know, juggle all the responsibilities. So probably it will be people who are well organized in some sorts. Yeah. So maybe this will be actually the point that will help you, yeah, to stay in science, stay in research, and make an academic career. We will see. We will follow you.
Thank you. Thank you for the interest.
That was that this should not sound like a threat, yeah. That we will follow you.
Not at all. Not at all.
Amazing, amazing. All right, Marley, thank you so much for this. We will you will send us probably some links. We will edit all with the other links with the show notes. Yes. Then all the great success with your research, and I'm looking forward already to the next update.
Thank you. All the best for you too, Martina. Looking forward to the next one.
Bye.